Hi, everyone, and welcome. We're just waiting for a few more people to log in, and then we'll start. Hey, hi, everybody, and welcome to our first online webinar in South Africa. My name is Cindy, and I see to the sales and marketing for Asamco SA. We're just waiting for a few more people to come in. Before we get started, house rules, you'll notice that your camera and your mic has been switched off. You're more than welcome to communicate with us via the chat function. We will be reserving questions for after the webinar. We will take a few questions and then we can chat about how you guys could sign up as a BP if you're a BP, or if you'd like to book a demo or find out more information. So yeah, we're excited about today. We're excited about our products. We hope that you will be as excited about it as well. I am now going to hand you over to Walter, who heads up the South African branch of Asamco, and he'll take you through the proceedings of the webinar. Walter, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Thanks for that introduction. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this first webinar with Sage. So what we are going to do is I'm going to briefly introduce you to the Asamco, the company, and then the team, and then we'll take it from there and we'll dive into the product. So just a brief overview, Asamco has been going for since 2004. That means about 16 years odd. And we've engaged with Sage specifically to assist on providing add-ons, and we provide solutions for them. So our interaction with Sage has been going for 16 odd years, and that means that we complement each other. So we rely on the Sage partnership, I think our core business, just to describe it shortly, is software development. So we do quite a lot of development on software specifically. We deliver some Sage solutions. We are a qualified ISV or a software vendor for Sage. And then, we do software consulting. So if there's any specific needs, we will be provided with some time at the end to do a bit of questions and answers. So without further ado, let's meet the rest of the team. We're going to show you a little bit of a picture and then we'll go from there. Thanks, Cindy. Tinan, can you roll? Right. Thank you, Tinan. That was just a brief introduction of some of the faces. Once Alex joins, we can introduce you to Alex. But I briefly want to describe to you what the reason would be for creating what we call Evolution Online. I think there was a time where a lot of people felt that software needs to be on the web. So therefore, the decision was made to create something online. But with a collaboration with Sage, we decided to take their product online. And I think during COVID, there was a lot of demand for people wanting to work remotely. And I think that's where the big takeoff of this product actually took place. And then, Sage had a good accounting basis. So we leveraged from that and we used that to write our add-on products. So again, we need to rely on Sage and we need their product. And we basically taken them to the web. So I'm going to briefly explain to you what the integration is all about. We use an API to integrate into the software. So I'm going to share my screen quickly and then show you more or less what the integration is all about. It's a non-technical explanation. So if you see there, API is an application program interface. And what we've got there is we've got the Sage Evolution database. And then on that database, we leverage from that by using the API. You are able to, from a web perspective, log in from any kind of device and then use your Sage Evolution database. Our Samco product, in this case, the Evo Online, resides this side, so we interact bi-directional. So that's a brief description of how we work and what we do. So the integration part gives you a fair idea of how this works. Without further ado, let's maybe dive into the product. And we are going to show you the video. Please jot down your questions, put them in the box, and then we'll answer them as soon as we're done. Just as a bit of information, if you feel that the screen is a bit too small, you can use the control button on the keyboard and the mouse wheel to make it a little bit bigger. So let's dive into it. I'm going to hand over to Tina to show you the introduction and the actual navigating through the Evolution Online. Here with an introduction to the Samco portal, I'm going to show you how to log in and navigate your way through the Samco portal. This is online and features functionality that you can use online with your Sage Evolution system. Logging in is quite easy. By clicking on the log on button, I am presented with various ways to log on to the Samco portal. I can sign in with my Microsoft account using the Office 365. This is a single sign-on system meaning that if you have a Microsoft account, you don't need additional credentials. You can click on it and sign in with those credentials. Sign in with your Google credentials. That will point you to your Google credentials and log you in accordingly. Alternatively, you can log in with your email address, and by selecting or typing your email address and your password that accompanies that, I will be able to sign in to the Asamco portal. Once signed in, I will be presented with various databases on various companies. These are the companies represented currently, and if I am a specific customer, I can select whatever database it is that I need to log in. For the purpose of this demo, I am going to click on Asamco demo, and once in the Asamco demo, I am presented with various tiles of modules or applications that I can use. Depending on my username and password, access to these applications will be limited. On the left-hand side, I can actually see who the person is or the agent that has been logged in, and I can specifically see the database that I'm logged into. I've got a dashboard. I can switch between organizations. I can set approvals. I can go to the management portal, and there are some other functionality. Briefly, to explain the applications, I am going to introduce you to Electronic Procurement Online, or EPO as it is known. Another application by Asamco is called Evo, or Evo Online. This is the one that we are going to handle within this specific webinar. A loan management system, or LMS, a proof of delivery system, a reporting system, and a document management system. These are just some of the applications that we host inside the Asamco portal online. Diving directly into Evo Online, by clicking the application, I will be logged in to that specific application. I will be presented with a dashboard with the various functionality. I will now briefly show you how to navigate through the Asamco portal, specifically Evo Online application.
To navigate to the customer screen, click on the Customers button as shown here. On the overview page, you will find a list of all the currently active customers in Evolution. To review the transactions related to a particular customer, click on the Inquire Customer Transactions button shown here. You will then see this pop-up screen for selected customer. Click small X button on the top right to close this screen. Click on the Edit Customer button as shown here to modify the according information. In this screen, you will see all the tabs that can be edited from the tax information, the customer's contact details, the banking information, the additional fields, the linked accounts, and the attachments tab. Once you are happy with the changes you have made, click on the green Save button on the top right of your screen. You will then see this success notification displayed indicating your changes have been saved. To add a new customer to Evolution, click on the plus button and fill in all the relevant information under the various tabs. As shown in this screen, you will see the Customer's Information tab, including the following tabs for the customer's tax information: the contact details, the banking information, the additional fields, the linked accounts, and the attachments tab. To save your new customer's information, click on the green Save button shown here, and you will then see this success notification indicating that your new customer has been saved. The same functionalities are available for your supplier's information. Click on the Suppliers button, which you will find in the Evolution dashboard. On this overview page, you will find a list of all the currently active suppliers in Evolution. To review the transactions related to a particular supplier. Click on the Inquire Supplier Transactions button shown here. You will then see this pop-up screen with the transactions for the selected supplier. Click on the small X button on the top right to close this screen. To edit a supplier's information, click on the Edit Supplier button. In this screen you will see all the tabs that can be edited for your supplier. From the tax information, the supplier contact details, the banking information, the additional fields and the attachments tab. Once you are happy with the changes you have made, click on the green Save button on the top right of your screen. You will then see this success notification displayed indicating your changes have been saved. To add a new supplier to Evolution, click on the plus button and fill in all the relevant information under the various tabs. As shown in this screen, you will see the Supplier Information tab, including the following tabs for the supplier's tax information, the contact details, the banking information, the additional fields and the attachments tab. To save your new supplier information, click on the green Save button shown here. And you will then see this success notification indicating that your new supplier has been saved. To view the General Ledger Accounts Overview screen, click on the GL Accounts button, which you will again find in the Evolution dashboard. You will then see the following overview screen displayed where you will find a list of all the General Ledger accounts currently active in Evolution. You can also use the Show Active button shown here to switch between the active and inactive General Ledger accounts. The transactions for each General Ledger account can be reviewed by clicking on the Inquire GL Transactions button as shown here. This pop-up screen will then be displayed, showing you the selected General Ledger accounts transaction details. To close this screen, click on the small X button. Hello and welcome. This video is designed to help you navigate through our Evolution Online app module with ease and efficiency. To get started, click on the Evo Online block. You will now see the following overview screen displayed. To navigate to the Cashbook Batches screen, click on the Cashbook Batch button as shown here. On the overview page you will find a list of all the currently existing Cashbook batches in Evolution. To open a Cashbook batch, click on the plus button as shown here. You will then see this new screen displayed from which you can view the Cashbook batch information. Fill in the required information by selecting a bank account using the drop-down menu as shown here. Once you have selected the bank account, fill in your deposit amount. Next, fill in your payment amount. To add in a transaction line, click on the plus button as shown here. Select the date for your transaction line. Select the module from your General Ledger account. To select an account payable or your accounts receivable, click on the account, and the following pop-up screen will be displayed. Next, select the relevant account to the transaction line. Fill in your reference number. Type in your description for this transaction line, and then add in your deposit or payment amount. You can also use the direct allocation feature, as shown here, to allocate a payment or deposit to an outstanding purchase or sales invoice. You can allocate to multiple sales orders by ticking the checkboxes on the left of your screen as shown here. The allocated amounts can be manually added in, or you can allocate the maximum payment for each transaction line by clicking on this blue Calculate button. To reset the allocated amounts, click on the red Reset button. Once you have allocated the correct amounts for each transaction line, click on the blue Save button, and your allocations will be saved. You can also export this current grid to an Excel spreadsheet by clicking this Export button. You will then see the file automatically downloaded to your computer. After clicking on the downloaded Excel document, you can see all the transaction lines as shown in the portal. Click on the yellow Validate button once you have filled in the transaction lines. You should then see the following success notification message indicating that no errors were found on your transaction line. Click OK. And then click on the blue paper plane button to post your Cashbook batch. You will see this notification message indicating your Cashbook batch has been successfully posted. Click OK and you will be brought back to the Cashbook batch overview screen. To access the batch properties, click on the blue settings icon on the right of your screen as shown here. This can also be done from within your Cashbook batch and can be seen on the top right of your screen. In the batch properties screen, you will see various tabs on the top from which you can view and change the batch defaults. You can view and edit the integration settings. In the new line defaults, you can again view and edit these current settings. The tax defaults can also be viewed and edited depending on your Cashbook batch preferences, and lastly the batch details can be viewed. Once you are happy with your batch properties, click on the green Save button and your settings will be saved as shown in this success notification message. To navigate to the Journal Batches screen, click on the Dashboard button. Then click on the Journal Batch button as shown here. On the overview page you will find a list of all the currently existing journal batches in Evolution. To open a journal batch, click on the plus button as shown here. You will then see this new screen displayed from which you can view the journal batch information. Fill in the required information. Then add in the transaction line by clicking on the plus button as shown here. Select the date for your transaction line. The modules seen here are used to determine how you post the various transaction types. So you will need to book it on a GL account, a customer, or on a supplier. The drop-down then shows the accounts that are linked to that module from your general ledger: accounts payable and accounts receivable. Next, select the relevant account for the transaction line. Fill in your reference number. Type in your description for this transaction line. And then add in your debit or credit amount. Select the tax type in the menu. Select your tax account if applicable. And then fill in your project from the drop-down menu as shown here. To add an additional line to your journal batch, click on the End button as shown here. Again, repeat the steps as explained previously. This will be used for your contra account. By selecting the relevant account to the row, filling in your reference number, type your description for this transaction line, add in your credit amount, select your tax type, select your tax account, and then fill in your project from the drop-down menu as shown here. The currency options tabs above your transaction lines can be selected depending on the currency you would like to use when creating your Cashbook batch. Selecting the home currency will set all amounts to the home currency that has been set in your Sage Evolution. When clicking on the foreign currency, all amounts entered in your transaction lines will be converted to the foreign currency and will be calculated automatically with the current exchange rate set in the system. The Calculate Exchange Rate will show you the current rate at which your home currency amounts will be calculated when using the foreign currency amounts. You can also export this current grid to an Excel spreadsheet by clicking this Export button. You will then see the file automatically downloaded to your computer. After clicking on the downloaded Excel document, you can see all the transaction lines as shown in the portal. Click on the yellow Validate button once you have filled in the transaction line information. You should then see the following success notification message indicating that no errors were found on your transaction line. Click OK. And then click on the blue paper plane button to post your journal batch. You will see this notification message indicating your journal batch has been successfully posted. Click OK and you will be brought back to the Journal Batch overview screen. To access the batch properties, click on the blue settings icon on the right of your screen as shown here. This can also be done from within your journal batch and can be seen on the top right of your screen. In the Batch Properties screen, you will see various tabs on the top from which you can view and change the batch defaults. You can view and edit the new line defaults. The tax defaults can also be viewed and edited, depending on your journal batch preferences, and lastly, the batch details can be viewed. Once you are happy with your batch properties, click on the green Save button and your settings will be saved as shown in this success notification message. To view and submit your pending cashbook or journal batches, click on the Workflows button in your left tree menu, then click on Pending. You will then see the following Pending Workflows screen with all your saved cashbook and journal batches. To view and submit your cashbook or journal batch, click on the Edit button as shown here. Your batch will now be displayed. Click on the Validate to make sure no errors are present in this batch, then click on the Approve button as shown here. You will then see this success message displayed indicating your batch has been approved. To process this cashbook or journal batch, click on General Ledger in the left menu. Next, click on Transactions and then click on the Cashbook Batches to process. You will also see the Journal Batches to process in the same menu. In the Journal Batches to Process Overview screen, you will find all your approved and submitted journal batches that can be processed. On the right side of the screen, you will see the yellow Validation button and the blue I button from which you can view and validate the journal batches in the Overview screen. Upon viewing the journal batch, you will see that this journal batch is awaiting to be processed. Next, click on the blue Post button as shown here, and you will see the following success notification message displayed indicating that this journal batch has been processed. To navigate to the Warehouse Transfer Batches screen, click on the Dashboard button. Then click on the Warehouse Transfer Batches button as shown here. On the Overview page, you will find a list of all the currently existing warehouse transfer batches in Evolution. You can toggle between your processes and unprocessed warehouse batches using the following button shown here. The Overview page can also be refreshed by clicking on this Refresh button. You can also export this current grid to an Excel spreadsheet by clicking this Export button. Next, select if you would like to export all the data or selected rows. You will then see the file automatically downloaded to your computer. After clicking on the downloaded Excel document, you can see all the transactions that was in the previous Overview screen. To add a new warehouse transfer batch, click on the plus button as shown here. The following screen will be displayed where you can fill in the required information for your warehouse transfer batch. Fill in your batch reference number. Next, select the From item. In the Item drop-down, select the From Warehouse. Fill in your quantity amount, and then select your To Warehouse from the drop-down menu as shown here. Type in your reference and description if applicable. Note these fields can also be pre-filled in depending on the stock items chosen. To add this batch line, click on the Add Line button as shown here. If applicable, you can add in multiple lines, and they will all be saved in this Save Warehouse Transfer batch. Once your line has been added, you can then save your warehouse transfer batch by clicking on the green Save button on the top right of your screen as shown here. You will then see this success message indicating your warehouse transfer batch has been saved. To process the transfer batch, click on the green Process arrow button pointing to the right. You will then see this success notification message indicating that your warehouse transfer batch has been processed successfully. Click OK and your warehouse batch will now be processed.
All right, that was the first part of the Evolution Online. We are going to move to the document processing part. We'll briefly show you that, and then we'll start tackling the questions. I see there's quite a lot of questions coming up. Alex and Cindy might have been answering some of them already online. So let's dive into the next video, which is document processing. Now that we've covered the dashboard with inside Evolution Online, I'm going to move on to document processing. To enable us to do document processing, Asamco has created another online application. It is called EPO, or Electronic Procurement Online. This was specifically done for advanced procurement, but the functionality within that is also used for document processing for Evo Online. For me to get to the document processing, I will leave this application by clicking the Leave Application button. I will then go back to the portal side, and on the portal I have my two tiles. We've covered Evolution Online. We are now going to discuss EPO, or Electronic Procurement Online, and its document processing. By clicking on this tile, it will present me with a dashboard from which I can navigate to do my document processing. There will be the purchasing cycle as well as the sales cycle. Some of the other nice features I will cover shortly, like expense claims, payment batches, and direct debit batches. Again, depending on your user access permission, you will have certain functionality. Also, registered items or registered software will determine what kind of functionality will be available. Moving on to the actual processing of documents, we've got purchase orders. By clicking on purchase orders, I will briefly explain document processing. Navigating through the purchase order document is similar throughout, but as a brief explanation, there are fields to fill out to populate or create your document. Once you've created or populated a document, there are various functionalities that you can have. We are going to briefly look at that. You can load a new purchase order from a pre-populated template by clicking on this button. You have got the functionality to use the existing document that you've created and save it as a template for future use. You can process from here directly onto a supplier's invoice. If you've created a document and you want to revise the document or revisit at a later stage, you may be able to save as draft. By hitting the submit button, you will submit this as a purchase order. To fill out this purchase order document, it is selecting from pre-populated fields. Once again, this is fully integrated with Sage Evolution, and whatever is on this menu, you will see it within your Sage Evolution system. So there's nothing new that's here that we have not done within the Sage Evolution system. By selecting a supplier from your list, you'll be able to fill that out. If you've got projects set up, you can easily select from a project, and you can see that searching is quite straightforward and easy. Selecting a default warehouse. These warehouse options also come from Sage Evolution system. Currently, workflows are disabled due to the fact that it's Evo Online. With our e-procurement and advanced procurement, you can enable workflows, and that will allow you to get approval. The document date, order date, this will be pre-populated, and you can select from a calendar. External order number, if you've got a specific order number that you need, you can fill out. It also shows you a brief list of what has been created before, so it gives you a bit of history so that you can select the document options. I will go through the motions of filling out the different dates. In this case, what would be the invoice date if I know it offhand? If I do have suppliers information and I'm wanting to process an invoice directly, I can fill out the relevant information. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm only going to create a purchase order, and at that point in time, I do not have a supplier's invoice number. Moving to the lines part of this document, I can decide if I want to process this document inclusive or exclusive. To add additional lines, I will click on the plus. This will allow me to now choose whether I want a general ledger line or a stock line. As an example, I'm going to use a stock line, and I can then move on to selecting the stock item that I need. Again, the search functionality is quite quick and easy. By selecting or pre-typing, I will be able to select the items that I need. For the purpose of this, I will select the first item, and it will then give me a description as derived from your Sage Evolution. It's going to go from the master warehouse because I've selected it on the header part. The unit of measure is also available, so if you've set up unit of measure within Sage Evolution, this will be available to select from. Again, the project was pre-selected on the header part, but per line I can also change it. So the line functionality is there. Quantity, by default, is going to go to 1. I can change the quantity as required. Price, this would be the price that was given to me by the suppliers or maybe from their price list. By filling out the price, I can have it in the currency that I require. This customer or supplier might have been set up in a specific currency, and therefore I need to select the different options. The confirmed quantity can be 0, and that will be confirmed once we do a supplier's invoice. If I'm happy with this document, I can create that specific line. Down at the bottom, you'll see that that line has now been added, and I've got the option to edit or delete that line. I can also now go and add additional lines. If I'm happy with this, I can move to the bottom part of the document where I've got options like document information, delivery method, for example, the priority, again, dates, and those are delivery dates. If I know what it is, I can fill it out, and I've even got the option of filling up settlement terms. If I've used a GL line, I can use budget versus actual to do a comparison to see before I start procuring that I have budget for this specifically. On the right hand side, I've got some messages, and I can type in to the people that needs to process this document or as further reference. So I've just typed in a message, and once posted, everyone can see this. If it's submitted to a workflow, all this will be kept as a record for that. On the far right hand side, I can do file attachment, meaning I can attach supporting documents. There's an option of dragging and dropping files here or selecting the options that I require. If I click on select files, I will be presented with my file explorer, and I can easily find the documents that I need. By double clicking them, I can attach the document. Once I've attached it, the document management system of a SAMCO will kick in, and you can describe the type of document. In this case, it can be an additional document, maybe a quotation that you've received from your supplier, or even something from their catalog. Once I've categorized it, it will know where to file the document, and this document now accompanies my original processing document. For me to confirm that I've got the right option, I can view the document, I can download it, or I can delete this specific document. For now, just as a quick reference, let's view the document, and it says there, if you can read this, you've successfully attached this document. Once I'm happy with this document, again, there are various things that I can do with this document. For example, I can load additional information from a template. I can save this one as a template. I can process this as an invoice. I can save this, and I can submit. I'm now going to submit this as a sales order. By clicking on the submit button, it will immediately process this and put the reference within Sage Evolution. From the history page, I can select the document last processed, and by double clicking it, I can revise the document that I've just processed. I can now do a goods received note, or I can process an invoice directly. By changing certain features on the document, I will now be able to process the document from here. Additional information required previously might have been a supplier's invoice. Once I've got that supplier's invoice, I can fill out the relevant details. Once I've captured that, I need to go and confirm the quantities that I want. And if I'm happy with that, I can now go and do a goods received note, which will bring it into stock, or I can directly do a supplier's invoice. If anything is omitted, a validation will ensure that I've got all the information required. If I filled out all the relevant information as needed, it will tell me that I've successfully processed that purchase order document with the following number. You can download that report, or by selecting OK, this will post this document now into the history page. On the history page, I can see the status of the document. My purchase order has been archived and my invoice has been generated. I can look at the specific invoice and I can also find it within the history page. By selecting the document, I can see that the document has been processed. The archive gives me the indication that it's gone through the process. I can again preview a report, or I can submit this document in a report. If we move on to the dashboard, I briefly showed you the purchasing cycle. The sales cycle is exactly the same. You might see some vibrant colors on here just to differentiate between the types of document. In this case, to fill out the document is exactly the same. Therefore, I'm not going through that complete process. Again, you can type messages, you can add documents, you can load from a template, you can save as a template, and you can submit a sales order. Once your sales order has been submitted, you can now follow the sales procedure by generating an invoice. Generating an invoice is quite quick and easy by going to the history page. From the history page, I will go and select that specific sales order. The fact that it's unprocessed shows me that it's not yet been invoiced. I will have a look at the document, revise the quantities, ensure that everything is attached. If I need to view this document attached, I can again click on the view button and I can quickly see the attached document. The option that is now available is for me to process the invoice. Once I process the invoice, this will be a fully processed invoice. By hitting that button, it will go through the motion, validate it, and confirm that it is posted with that specific order number. It will again take me back to the history page. Selecting the credit note function on the left, I can click on a credit note. I can now do a credit note from scratch. Otherwise, I can load from a template by extending the number of invoices or documents I can see. I can easily find that last document by selecting it. I can now process my credit note. By hitting the OK button, it will load the original invoice document for me with all the relevant information. If there's information I need to change, I can go and change it. Once I've changed it, I can now submit my credit note. It will do the transaction date exactly as stated on here. By submitting the credit note, I will now have successfully processed a credit note. That briefly takes you to the history page again to confirm your document processing. But in essence, what we've shown here is that we can process a document on the sales side as well as the purchasing side. As you can see, processing documents within the Evolution Online system or the EPO side of document processing is quite quick and easy. Some other features from the dashboard includes expense claims, where internal consultants or employees can put in an expense claim, for example, travel. If we have a quick overview of that document, you can clearly see that it takes on the exact same as the document capturing within the Evo Online EPO side of document processing, where you just have to fill out the relevant information, save the document, or submit that specific document. If we look at some of the other features that we have payments and debit batches. Payment batches, briefly, can be accessed from the menu as well, or the dashboard. In this case, we can decide from which bank account we want to do payments, and once you've selected that, you selected the correct processing date, you will be presented with a screen where you can go and create your payment batches. A history of transactions will be presented, and from here you can allocate amounts, batch it up in total, and then pay those specific suppliers. This is an additional feature, and from the dashboard side we can also show you direct debit batches, where you again select from a bank account and you can solicit payments from your customers. It will again present you with a mini age analysis from where you can select the amounts and then solicit payment from that. It goes into a bank file which is submitted and can be deducted. Back on the dashboard, depending on the features that you require and the information that you require, you can now process various types of documents within the EPO system as part of Evo Online. That concludes the document processing, and I thank you for the time that we've spent so far on Evolution Online or Evo Online from Asamco. Good. Now that you've seen the document processing, I think we are going to move over to the questions and answers. Alex said he's going to join and help us answer some of the questions. I can see them coming through. So I'm going to hand you over to Cindy to start the questions and answer section of this webinar.
Thank you, Walter. Yes, as you said, a few questions have come through, and Alex will elaborate further on some of them. Karina asked, how do we get the recording link? As Alex mentioned, we will share the link with all of you via mail afterwards. It will also be available on our YouTube channel and our social media pages as well. Then we had a question from Boy Pillow Mkonazi. Can Evolution Online be used on the client's own server? Alex.
Yes. Hi, good morning, everyone. It can indeed be used in your own server. It will work as an API next to your database, so your own Evolution database. And from there, it makes connection to the browser, or the browser actually makes connection to the API we'd install next to your local or hosted Evolution database.
Okay, and then further to that, Bridget Mbolekwa asked, will this mean that we continue to maintain our database, or are we completely migrating to an online platform?
Yeah, so I guess that's in line with the previous question. You would normally maintain your database. You would, however, move 80 or 90% of your daily transaction would probably be done in Evo Online.
Okay, thanks, Alex. And then Bridget asked as well, is EPO and DMS separate packages or part of the overall Evo Online package?
They are separate but fully integrated. So EPO is actually in a basic version, a part of the Evo Online. So it's one of the we consider it a fully integrated. However, you can buy them as modules dependent on what you do need or do not need. In EPO is always in Evo Online in its basic version with workflows stripped out. And DMS is as well an option to take.
Okay, and then we have one more from Sachu. Sachu asks, does Evo Online use the access level permission from Evolution, or does it have to be set up on Evolution Online?
It would be set up on Evolution Online. Some of the permissions are inherited from the Evolution access permission, but most of them will be set up in Evo Online.
Okay, so yeah, I think that is the questions that we have now. Oh, Francis, we've got one coming in via Francis. When comparing budget versus actual before approving a PO, can you do this with stock items or only GL lines?
We currently only select GL lines, because you also don't track budgets on stock items at this moment. Of course, we could, assuming you'd use service items, we could update that and look through where the cost would land if you'd use those service items and show the relevant GL lines for that with the budget in Evo.
Okay, and Abby wants to know the layout. Will it pick it up from Evo Online or is it customizable?
It's fully customizable. It uses a similar layout editor like Evolution. However, it does not pick your Evolution layouts. You have the option yourself to lay out them completely. And I like the layout editor a lot more than the one in Evo. However, you would need to perhaps make those adjustments for your layouts once more.
Not a biased answer at all. Hey, Alex. Komotso wants to know, can we convert existing Evolution database to the online Evo?
I guess the answer is no. They would actually stay the same. So there's no conversion applicable. So it's an installation, it's a little bit of configuration, but you could use them at the same time and even in a hybrid mode. So if you want part of your user still using the Windows environment, the Windows application, and part of them in Evo Online, that's fully possible.
Okay. And we have Sachu again. Sachu wants to know, can we use the user-defined fields on document processing? The ones that are set up on Evolution.
Yes, you can. So what we even allow in addition to that, you can have user-defined fields on your document and document line. On top of that, we have the option to configure which of those UDFs are required to be filled in by the user, and not just required, allowed even to be filled in by the user. As some of the UDFs you want to have automated logic, for example, by means of triggers underneath. We don't want all of them to be visible. So we, in addition to allowing UDFs, we also have the possibility to limit which ones want to allow the user to fill in.
Okay. And Francis wants to know, can you approve a PO via email or do you have to log into Evo Online?
You do need to log in through Evo Online. That's also a security thing. If it was possible through email, then it's very easily hackable, and don't have that in 2021.
Okay. This is a nice one. Bridget, besides working from anywhere, what are other benefits? What are the other benefits of the online platform?
Excellent question, Bridget. So I guess what's important to realize is, besides the basic functionalities, we have added a lot of additional features to the processing. So first of all of our documents allow for workflows. So that means that you can have even your sales orders or credit notes or whatever you need through approval flows. Then in addition to that, you can limit, for example, what GL accounts are allowed per workflow. Let's say reducing the amount of mistakes that your input users are able to do, because they get only limited sets of GL accounts for each workflow. Other nice features that we have is the direct allocations from the Cashbook Batch. So a little bit like partner style, that you can allocate directly on the line before processing. It gets even nicer when you start using our bank statements. Right? I know we haven't shown that yet this today. But bank statements actually allow you to upload your bank statement and process line by line into your evolution. But keeping in mind that we use machine learning to automatically learn where to allocate, should it be AR or AP or GL account, which account should be used, etc. So that will reduce the amount of clicks you need to do to process your entire bank statement. So those are just small features that go on top of normal Evo functionality. Add to that the fact that we have our document management system integrated everywhere, meaning you can attach documents on clients, on documents, on journals, on whatever you'd like. What else is a nice thing to add? And we allow for UDFs even in places where Evo doesn't allow it, such as, for example, a project. I hope that sort of explains. I'm not through all the benefits, but these are the first ones that come off the top of my head.
Okay, I see Bridget has asked, what about system performance?
Excellent question. So the performance, I think, is very well. There are, of course, some dependencies. So first of all, the API does the heaviest part of the work. That means that your workstations don't need as heavy machines as you're used to with Evolution. At the same time, from a data point of view, we only transfer the data that you see, and it's all paged. So where Evolution, for example, pulls in the entire data set just to fill a tiny drop down, we only pull in the first 10 records and have your search actually then search through the database directly. So it's very efficient in the data it's pulling. That means that it's efficient on your data usage, but also very efficient on your SQL and thus performance usage. So performance is very snappy. I think in addition to that, the client application or the browser side is separate from the API and gets preloaded bit by bit. So that's also very, very snappy, very fast. Of course, there is some dependency on the internet connection, as is to be expected.
Okay, and then Abdi asks another good question. Evo Online, does it use the Evolution license?
It uses your Evolution. You need to have your basic Evolution license. You need to have your SDK license. Some of the modules, of course, it can facilitate. The user licensing is separate.
Thank you. Satya, I think that answers your question as well. You asked about the SDK. There was one more from Boy Pillow. Do you have a BP system, and what is the licensing fees for the product?
I think, yes, we do. And I think Cindy will send you all the info that you need to have there.
Okay. We have 2 minutes left, guys. Does anybody else have any questions they'd like to ask? Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, we want to say thank you to everybody for joining us and for taking time out. And we hope that this webinar helped you understand the product a little bit better. And as I mentioned in the comments, if you'd like to book a one-on-one demo or find out more, or even sign up as a BP with a Sumco, please feel free to pop me an email and I will revert to you. Sachu asks, if licensing is separate, can you have 10 users on Evo Online and a single user Evo on the Evo license?
Yes, technically that's definitely possible.
Okay, great. Alex, Walter, don't know if you guys want to say
I want to thank everyone for your attention, for your time, and for joining us today. And hope to chat to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy, for facilitating this. I think, yeah, from my side, there's a couple of questions still coming. I think you can contact Cindy and we'll do the BP side of things. Right. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.